Hey girls, and welcome back. If this is your 5th video in a row, literally chill. I don't know why you're obsessed with us, binging us like The Office. We're not going anywhere. We are here to stay. But anyway, if you watched last video, even if it was 5 minutes ago, you know that we spoke to you all about budgeting, and we kind of brushed over this last point of like, budgeting's really hard, but like you gotta stick to it in order for it to matter. So here we go. We're gonna give you some tips, some key advice to help make sure that you are keeping to your budget.
So going right in with tip number 1, we spoke about in our last video that you need to first decide how much you want to be saving every month. And then based on that, you can see how much money you have left for your expenses, right? So Liz gave the analogy that if you're making $1,000 a month, you know you want to be saving $500. You have $500 left to spend, and you better make it work.
And spend it wisely.
Exactly. But we're going one step further with this tip, and we are forcing ourselves to save that $500, save however much you want to be a month with automatic saving. Guys, this is a crazy feature. You can do this in 2 ways. You can either do it through direct deposit, which means when your employer pays you, they are paying you automatically part of your salary into a savings account. You will never see this money. It is not hitting your checking account, which is your normal account that you spend your money of. You will never see it. Bye-bye. It's going into savings. You can't even spend it if you want to. And that's the way we like it.
So deposit straight. You're never seeing it. It's going straight into a savings account. Direct deposit. Pretty self-explanatory. Next.
But the second way to do automatic savings is to have your bank automatically once a month transfer a certain amount of money from your checking account, that's the account you spend with, to your savings account, which, yeah, it's the
account you save with.
And that can be any amount that you choose, and we really recommend, because out of sight, out of mind, the more you have in your account to spend, the more ASOS orders you're going to place. It's just that simple.
Happens to me all the time. So piggybacking on an analogy from last video, if you were really nervous about switching to your mom's Honda Civic, don't worry, you can shift back into the Tesla auto drive and use direct deposit, which is automated. Moving on to the second one is tracking your spending. And we talked about tracking your spending. What does that even mean? So picture this, you go to a nutritionist, you're really trying to lose weight, and she tells you what to do. You're like, yeah, I'm on it. You're so motivated. You're like, this is gonna happen. You come back to her in 2.5 weeks and she's like, well, actually, you didn't lose weight. And you're like, what do you mean? Like, my mindset is all about the diet. My mindset might be all about budgeting, and it's not working. What is she gonna tell you? She's gonna tell you for these next 2 weeks, you're gonna make a diet journal. You're literally gonna journal every single thing that you eat.
Journal, right?
A food journal, yeah, is that what it's called? A food journal. And this way you guys can go back and see, where are you going wrong? What's going on? The same exact thing applies to budgeting. You need to be writing it down, whether that's on the Notes app of your phone. I don't know what phone you have, it doesn't matter. Every single phone has Notes app. Whether it's this app called Mint, which does it for you. It's really easy. You just plug in, Mint is great. You just plug in what you've been spending and it just calculates it for you. And this way, if you're not happy with the number that you're seeing at the end, that saving number. So quick recap, schmoop. What is budgeting? What is saving? It's income, what you're making minus your expenses, obviously what you're using equals your savings. If you're not happy with that number, guess what? It's time to go back to that journal, go back to that app and see where you need to cut back. We're all about fun. We want you to spend money on the fun, whatever that might be for you. Sometimes you have to cut back just a little bit to get to that long-term goal.
Also, tracking your purchases lets you see where you messed up. Just like when you're dieting, you see like, oh man, on Thursdays, I always go for the Gushers at 6 p.m. after dinner. Like, yeah, it happens to me also, happens to me. But like when you're tracking your purchases, you could be like, oh, my Black Friday got me. It really,
every time.
It always
Nordstrom anniversary sale, forget it.
So that way you know what your weaknesses are, you know what you can overcome, because you can do it. Financial diet for the win. Moving on to the third way that you can stick to your budget, stick to your plan. This is something that I've been doing for years. Liz has been doing it for years because it works. We are talking about giving yourself an allowance. The easiest way that I have found I can give myself an allowance is by, at the start of every single month, depending on how much I want to be spending, putting that on my debit card.
What is the difference between a debit card and a credit card? We'll get to, but really quick, debit card, if you swipe and you don't have that money in your account, guess what? Declined. It's not going through. Simon Cowell is, Simon Cowell is pushing that X button versus a credit card, which lets you spend money which you don't have. Dangerous. We'll get to it.
Has its perks. Moving on. So let's say, right, you have $1,000 you're making, you want to save $500. That's automatically going in a savings account. You never saw it. You know you have $500 to spend. Let's put that on the debit card, right? Let's say I know this is how much I could spend a month, And guess what? You can't go over it. It's a debit card. Guess if you spend $500 the first week, tough nubs. I'm really sorry. Like, you cannot spend more, and you need to figure it out for yourself. That's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to you. You get caught up. We're girls, you know, you're walking, you're shopping. Black Friday happens, and guess what? You live with the consequences because you did it to yourself. You used up your own allowance, and you cannot spend more if you want to.
Yeah, so something else that I found to be super helpful when budgeting, and I kind of always compare budgeting to a diet because they're really so similar, but when I'm really trying to lose weight, when I'm really trying to be good, I grab someone who's always around me. If I'm in school, it's like either my roommate or someone who's in all my classes. If I'm home, it's a sibling or one of my parents, and if they see me eating a cookie, I literally, or pasta or something that like, I know I shouldn't be eating, like a pastry, I want them to be able to say to me like, Liz, like, do you really want that? Like, you should maybe think twice about that.
Like, think about what you want, Liz. You told me before, this is what you wanted.
Think about those long-term goals or short-term, whatever they might be. Having a budget and having a friend to just be there with you when you might be spending on, it might be your second Starbucks of the day, just to have that friend to be like, do you really need that, Susan? Do you, come on, you had one this morning.
Like a reality check, yeah.
It's just that friend to keep you in line, keep you in check, to ensure that you're getting to the goal that you want to get to at the end of the day.
So take a second right now, pause this video, text your best friend, be like, yo, we're going on budget diets together, we're being each other's policemen, whatever it is, and we are gonna hit our financial goals together. And moving on to our last way to stick to your budget, we are talking about Xing out of our lives the most destructive thing to any budget, the most destructive thing to any bank account.
I can speak from personal experience. This is called impulse purchases, and it is a psychological, legitimate thing. Impulse purchases are legit. They are basically when you don't think through your purchase and you impulsively buy, like the name suggests.
It can be in so many different areas, right?
It happens to me at 2 a.m. at night when I'm mindlessly scrolling through ASOS or I don't know, like these ads are they're placed so strategically. Like, it is psychologically placed.
On Instagram, they're like, oh, do you want these shoes? You're like
Siri literally hears you say like Brandy Melville or like Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, and the next thing you know, that's the ad on your phone. And it's like, oh my God, how do you know that I was literally looking at that black shirt on my laptop and now I'm on my phone? It is so crazy because they do this on purpose. Impulse purchases happen online. They happen in stores. Have you ever been like waiting online at the cashier and you see the cutest lip gloss ever? You're like, yup, there it is. I absolutely need that.
Not in your budget, but it's just like, oh, guys, it's $10. You know, it's not killing it. It's not killing anyone. But maybe it will kill your dreams and your future aspirations and goals.
Let's be honest, that mini lip gloss that you buy, after 2 days, it's like, shoot, did I put it in that purse or that? Is it in this pocket? Did I leave it in that drawer? Is it in this car or that car? Yeah. I think my friend took it. It's gone. It's literally, you didn't need it. You didn't think it through. It was really just like instant gratification. Long-term, girls, we have to think long-term. Impulse buys can be detrimental to your budget, and really, like, if you're really struggling with it, maybe you should budget to have a little bit in your budget for it. But not
even, like, you need to learn how to tell yourself no. You need to learn how to stick to budget, because guess what? Maybe you're 18, 17, 20 years older now, and guess what? The extra $10 won't kill you. But in the future, you will have real expenses. Believe me, they will come piling up, and that $10 adds up when you can't tell yourself no, when you don't know how to walk into Zara and walk out empty-handed.
I was literally thinking that. Like, figure out a way to walk past your favorite store and say, it's not in my budget this week. Learn how to walk by an average store that's having a 6 sale and say, I don't need it right now. Learn how to tell yourself no. And obviously, as girls, it is so hard. It's harder for some than others. I think I struggle with it more than Tali does. But it's real. We understand it. It's really hard.
Practice makes perfect. I've had more practice, you know, ever since I became aware of my impulse purchases pretty young, and I've really been working hard on being able to have willpower when it comes to my spending and saving as much as I really want to be able to.
So if you can accumulate all these different tips that we've given you, you apply them to your lives, I promise that you girls will be better budgeters than Tali and I are, because like we said, we're still working on it. This is so hard to actually implement, but it will get you to where you want to be. It will make you hit that long-term goal. So apply them, do it. Listen to us.
Let us know how it goes.
If you have questions, concerns, comments, hit us up on our socials. We'd love to hear from you. Until then, don't binge. Honestly, take a break if you haven't yet. And
What do you mean?
We'll see you in our next video.
Bye.